For a decade, the wreckage of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 lay somewhere beyond reach, beyond radar, beyond reason. Then, in the spring of 2025, a seismic survey drone, mapping the seabed for commercial purposes, detected what appeared to be a symmetrical metallic contour, buried beneath 40 meters of sediment. At first, it was dismissed as geological noise, a false echo. But the algorithm disagreed. A new AI model trained on hydrodynamic anomalies flagged it again, and again, with a probability of 96%. So an expedition was launched, and what they found rewrote the story. The cameras show fractured debris scattered across a trench, sections of fuselage, a turbine blade, the unmistakable arc of a wingtip. But what made this find extraordinary wasn't just that the plane had been found, it was where. The coordinates were nearly 1,900 kilometers northwest of the official 2018 search zone, a place that every previous model said was impossible, too far from the satellite pings, too shallow for the descent pattern, and yet, there it was. If this was MH370, then every drift simulation, every radar reconstruction, every assumption was wrong. So what happened here? Why did the wreckage end up where no model predicted? And what new evidence did the sea keep hidden for 11 years? Among the fragments, divers retrieved one object that would reignite the entire investigation. A curved section of aluminum composite, its surface marked by impact scoring, but its edges strangely smooth, almost eroded from within. And clinging to it were barnacles, dozens of them. Alive. Barnacles that shouldn't exist in these waters. Barnacles that told a story the data couldn't. What scientists would uncover inside those shells would challenge everything we thought we knew about MH370, its flight path, its final minutes, even the nature of its disappearance. Because if the data recovered in 2025 is correct, then MH370 didn't simply crash, it moved. It began like any other red-eye flight. Malaysia Airlines Flight 370, 239 people on board, families, engineers, students, entire lives folded into one aircraft. For the first 38 minutes, everything was normal. Cruising altitude, perfect weather, calm cockpit chatter. Then at 1:21 a.m., the transponder went dark. No mayday, no distress call, just silence. Civilian radar lost the plane over the South China Sea. Minutes later, military systems caught something else. The same radar returned looping back, slicing across the Malay Peninsula, heading west. A move that no automated system could make on its own. For months, investigators searched the skies, then the seabed, following faint satellite handshakes. A series of digital pings that suggested the jet had turned south, deep into the Indian Ocean. That narrow arc, the seventh arc, became the world's best guess. Between 2014 and 2018, the largest deep-sea hunt in history scoured 120,000 square kilometers. Sonar, magnetometers, underwater drones, all combing the abyss. They found nothing, and so the ocean was declared the only witness. By 2020, the trail had gone cold. Families faded from headlines. Data models collected dust. Until early 2025, when an unmanned seismic mapping drone built to chart oil deposits captured an anomaly. Coordinates: 12 degrees south, 89 degrees east. Depth: 3,860 meters. Echo pattern: metallic, curved, human-made. When the AI model flagged it, technicians assumed it was an old shipwreck. But when they overlaid the object's geometry against Boeing's fuselage schematics, the match ratio was 98.3%. Within weeks, an international recovery operation was assembled. Not by governments, but by private research firms, funded in part by oceanographic institutes still haunted by the unsolved case. They called the expedition Project Serpent 9. Its objective: verify the anomaly, document all biological growth, recover a single identifiable component. What they brought back was more than confirmation. It was contradiction. On the edge of that metallic arc, investigators found something that defied all prior models. The barnacles attached to the surface weren't cold water species from the southern Indian Ocean. They were tropical, warm zone dwellers, native to waters 1,500 kilometers north of where the official reports said the aircraft fell. That one biological mismatch shifted the entire map. If those barnacles told the truth, then the aircraft had never drifted south. It had come to rest, and possibly remained stationary, in a region no one had searched. So how did it get there? Did the plane descend intact and drift over time? Or was it moved, carried, concealed, repositioned? Each answer opens a new paradox. But before we follow those theories, we have to understand the machine itself. Because what failed that night, or what was made to fail, began deep inside the most advanced commercial jet of its time. To understand what may have happened that night, and why the 2025 wreckage rewrites the story, we need to understand the system that kept Flight 370 visible to the world. The Boeing 777 is a flying network. Every movement, every pressure change, every turn of the yoke is recorded, relayed, and verified across multiple independent systems. The transponder, broadcasting position to civilian radar. The ACARS, an automated communication system sending maintenance data to ground stations. And the SATCOM, a satellite link that can handshake silently with orbiting relays, even when the pilots say nothing. For the plane to vanish completely, all three pathways had to fail, or be disabled. That's where investigators in 2014 believed the story began. The EE bay, accessible from inside the cabin, where a single switch can isolate power to the transponder and ACARS. But SATCOM is harder to silence. It's linked to the plane's auxiliary power unit, a backup system that reactivates automatically if the main engines go offline. That's why, even after the aircraft disappeared from radar, satellites kept receiving brief, cryptic pings, the infamous handshakes, 7 of them, each one a faint pulse across the sky, marking time but not place. From those handshakes, analysts built a theory. The plane flew south, far into the Indian Ocean until it ran out of fuel. A tragic, logical ending. But the wreckage found in 2025 breaks that logic. Because the metallurgy and deformation patterns recovered from the new debris suggest the plane didn't simply dive, it landed. Engine nacelles show scrape marks consistent with a low-velocity impact, under 150 knots. Fuselage panels display longitudinal tears, not the explosive fragmentation typical of a high-speed crash. Even more telling, the flaps appear partially deployed. Flaps, the surfaces used during landing. So if the plane's final act was a controlled descent, who was in control? That question haunted the first investigation. Pilots? Hijackers? A system glitch? The new wreckage adds one more voice, the data trapped in the materials themselves. Microfracture analysis shows alternating bands of compression and expansion, as if the fuselage endured cycles of pressure before impact. That means the plane may have lost and regained altitude multiple times. Controlled or forced. One theory, backed by new AI modeling in 2025, proposes that the aircraft was flying on autopilot override, guided by preloaded waypoints, with manual corrections injected mid-flight. In plain terms, someone programmed a route and later intervened. If true, it explains the strange looping path over the peninsula, the long silence, the descent into isolation. But it doesn't explain why. The wreckage itself offers one chilling clue. Recovered from the debris field was a severed cable bundle, part of the data bus connecting the flight management system to the SATCOM unit. It wasn't torn, it was cut, cleanly. That bundle should have been deep within the forward avionics bay, unreachable without intent. Which means the loss of signal wasn't an accident. So, what does that mean? Someone inside the aircraft deliberately silenced its voice to the world. But if they intended to vanish completely, why attempt a controlled descent instead of destruction? Why land at all, and where? The next chapter reveals what the human data suggests: fragments of recorded transmissions, final cabin logs, and voices that may explain who held the controls when MH370 made its final turn. A quiet voice. Calm. Routine. Good night, Malaysian 370. Those were the final confirmed words from the cockpit, spoken by the captain, recorded by air traffic control just moments before the aircraft disappeared from radar. Nothing in his tone hinted at distress. No urgency. No malfunction. Just procedure. But 11 years later, the discovery of the wreckage would suggest that something else was happening in that cockpit. Something measured, deliberate, and deeply human. Analysts reprocessed the original audio using spectral filtering. They found a second frequency spike, faint, almost imperceptible, exactly 1.5 seconds before the final phrase. A whisper, a mechanical click, not interference, not radio noise, a control input. Someone had just switched something off. For years, investigators assumed the shutdown was electrical, but the newly recovered wreckage, especially the severed data bus found in 2025, suggests human intent. Which brings the investigation back to the people inside that cockpit. Captain, first officer, 2 seasoned professionals with over 20,000 flight hours combined. No signs of radicalization, no financial distress. But new evidence changes what we thought we knew about that night. Inside the data recovered from the 2025 wreckage, technicians found something no one expected: a small backup drive embedded within the cockpit avionics bay, used for internal diagnostics. It had survived intact. When they extracted its memory, they found system status logs from the final hour of flight. Not flight data, but cabin environment readings, temperature, pressure, and oxygen saturation levels. Those readings told a grim story. At 2:03 a.m., oxygen levels in the main cabin began to drop. By 2:11, cabin pressure was half normal. By 2:15, it flatlined. The crew, however, remained within the safe range. That suggests a controlled decompression. The passengers may have lost consciousness within minutes, while someone in the cockpit stayed awake. It was the perfect way to silence 238 voices, without violence, without struggle, without chaos. For a long time, the world blamed one man, the captain. But his simulator data, reanalyzed with new 2025 algorithms, tells a subtler story. Yes, he practiced long-range southern routes, but buried in his simulator files was another path, northwest, ending almost exactly where the wreckage has now been found. The pattern wasn't of suicide, it was of navigation, a model of endurance, not destruction. So what if the captain wasn't trying to vanish? What if he was trying to deliver the plane somewhere, to preserve it or to hide it? In the 2025 wreckage, investigators found emergency rations sealed in a rear galley compartment, unopened, and within a luggage bay, a small section of life raft material, cut free, not torn. The detail is chilling because it suggests preparation. Someone planned for survival, at least for a time. Forensic biologists studied residue inside the cockpit's oxygen masks. 2 were deployed. 1 belonged to the captain, the other, unknown. No DNA match in the manifest. A mask used by someone who shouldn't have been there. The cockpit door could be locked from the inside, but it also had a fail-safe code for re-entry. According to recovered flight manual pages found in the wreckage, that code had been disabled manually, moments before the last transmission. Someone sealed themselves in, but not necessarily alone. If one pilot was coerced, or if a third individual gained access before takeoff, it could explain everything. The calm voice, the precision maneuvers, the silence. A controlled operation masquerading as routine flight. But the 2025 discovery adds one more human dimension, one almost impossible to explain. In the wreckage, deep within the cockpit, divers found a personal artifact preserved in silt, a wristwatch still ticking faintly when exposed to air. Its chronometer had stopped at 6:49 UTC, the exact minute Project Serpent's ROV camera first sighted the debris. 11 years later, and it still marked the moment of rediscovery. Chance or echo? Sometimes the human signals don't just vanish, they wait. Because behind every instrument, every data set, there was someone making a choice. And in that cockpit, in those final hours, someone made the choice to disappear, not by accident, but by design. Every new discovery reshapes the old debate. And with the 2025 wreckage, 3 rival explanations rise again, each demanding belief, each missing something vital. Theory 1. The controlled descent. According to this model, the captain executed a deliberate turnback, depressurized the cabin, and guided the aircraft south until fuel exhaustion forced a slow, steady glide into the ocean. Supporters point to the partially deployed flaps and even spacing of debris as proof of a pilot's hand at the end. But the 2025 wreck site undermines that neat closure. If this were the same descent path, the plane should have come to rest thousands of kilometers farther south. Either the satellite data was misread, or the descent wasn't final. Theory 2. The hijacked vector. Another school believes an external actor took control, either from inside the cockpit or remotely through the flight management uplink. The severed SATCOM cable recovered in 2025 lends their argument weight. A precise cut, not crash damage. If someone silenced the aircraft's digital voice, it wasn't to vanish, it was to redirect. Yet even this narrative falters. To reach the 2025 coordinates, the plane would have needed intermittent control, surfacing on radar at least once more. No such trace exists. Theory 3. The relocation hypothesis. The newest and most controversial idea emerged only after marine biology data from the fresh wreck confirmed tropical zone barnacles. It proposes that the jet may have rested, intact, on a seafloor plateau closer to the equator, then been disturbed by tectonic activity or undersea currents years later. In that slow-motion upheaval, pieces broke free and drifted northwest, mimicking a new crash site. A geological accident masquerading as revelation. But skeptics ask, how did a 200-ton airframe remain undetected through years of sonar sweeps? Unless those sweeps never passed over it. Each theory explains part of the puzzle. None explains all. The controlled descent model fits the flight behavior, but not the location. The hijack model fits the severed cable, but not the absence of further communication. The relocation hypothesis fits the biology, but not the physics of drift. When investigators overlay the three, the intersection forms a single crescent-shaped region, unmapped, shallow, geologically unstable, a place once dismissed as noise on the sonar grid. And so, in 2025, a new mission is quietly proposed. A return to the beginning, not to find the plane, but to find the data that never fit. Because if all 3 theories are partially true, something larger must connect them. A human decision, an algorithmic error, or a system designed to conceal both. And if the models are wrong, what else have we mistaken for evidence? The next chapter brings the latest laboratory results. The new isotopic signatures and data patterns drawn from the recovered debris that may finally reveal where Flight 370 truly ended its journey. For months, the wreckage has been drying under filtered air, each panel labeled, scanned, and logged, down to the micron. The goal, to let the data speak for itself, and it begins with the metal. Spectrometric testing shows faint discoloration along rivet lines, zinc oxide halos that shouldn't exist below 2,000 meters. That means the pieces spent time in warm, oxygen-rich water before settling at depth. Exactly what the tropical barnacles hinted at. When analysts modeled the diffusion pattern, they found a pause, a chemical plateau lasting 8 to 9 months where no corrosion progressed at all. A gap in time, as if the fragment had rested somewhere protected, then moved again. That single pause rewrites the drift chronology. If genuine, the aircraft's remains may have lain inside a pocket of the ocean, a trench cave or artificial basin, before tectonic shifts exposed them in 2025. The discovery forces a question. Did the sea hide the wreckage, or did someone hide it there first? Marine biologists extract shell layers from the living barnacles found on the new debris. Each ring contains oxygen-18 isotopes, tiny timestamps of ocean temperature. Layer by layer, they reconstruct a journey: warm, temperate, cold, warm again. When plotted against global sea surface records, the pattern matches no natural current. Instead, it mirrors the operational path of a long-range subsurface tow, the kind used in remote salvage or military retrieval. The probability of coincidence? Less than 1%. The implication is staggering. Either an unknown vessel interacted with the debris years after the crash, or ocean physics as we know it missed an entire current system. Both possibilities break precedent. While metallurgists study corrosion, another team filters residual electromagnetic noise trapped in the flight's cockpit circuit boards. Minute polarizations frozen when circuits shorted on impact. When converted to audio range, they reveal bursts of static punctuated by rhythmic intervals. At first, random, then pattern. 7 pulses, each matching the timing of the last known satellite handshakes. But in between, faint microtones emerge, manual keying inconsistent with automated systems. A hand signal? Or interference from something else? No one can translate it yet. The pattern repeats 3 times, then stops, as if waiting for a reply that never came. For the first time, investigators are treating these signals not as ghost noise but as human fingerprints embedded in circuitry. When the alloy diffusion, isotope chronology, and signal triangulation are overlaid, a new geography appears, an oblong corridor curving northwest of the official search zone. It aligns perfectly with a rarely mapped ridge known as the 90 East Rise Fault. Seismic logs confirm an undersea quake in 2016 strong enough to shift sediment by hundreds of meters, exactly when the barnacle growth paused. If the quake dislodged the wreck, the plane may have lain hidden, intact for 2 years before currents scattered its pieces. That would explain the younger barnacles, the warm water chemistry, and the clean cut of the cables. Not sabotage, but compression shear from geological movement. Yet the severed SATCOM line remains too precise, too surgical, to be blamed on tectonics alone. So the investigation splits again, between nature's accident and human design. In the end, every new test answers one question only to raise 2 more. The barnacles tell of movement, the alloy tells of concealment, the circuitry whispers of intent. Together, they form the clearest picture yet, and still, it isn't clear enough. Because the data doesn't just describe where MH370 ended, it describes how something, or someone, made sure it stayed hidden until now. 11 years, hundreds of millions of dollars, and a decade of silence. Now, one rediscovery forces the world to ask what it's really been searching for: a plane, or the truth about how we lose it. In Malaysia, officials promise new transparency. In France, laboratories debate whether to declassify the isotope data. In Australia, families of the missing gather again, faces older, questions unchanged. For them, the 2025 find isn't closure, it's reopening. If the wreckage truly lay outside every predicted corridor, then the satellite analytics that guided a decade of policy were wrong or manipulated. Either conclusion is uncomfortable, because if a single aircraft can vanish beyond our math, what else can? Aviation networks rely on trust, coordinates, handshakes, algorithms that translate human movement into digital certainty. MH370 showed what happens when one data chain breaks. The 2025 discovery shows what happens when certainty itself does. The ocean didn't lie. Our models just stopped listening soon enough. Every year, over 100,000 flights cross the same skies that swallowed 370. Each depends on the same invisible lattice of signals. And somewhere inside that lattice are blind spots, zones where silence looks like compliance. How many other moments have we mistaken for routine simply because no one was watching? The 2025 evidence also ignites a deeper argument about ownership of truth. Who decides when discovery becomes public? Who protects data when it conflicts with national narratives? In the aftermath, independent scientists call for a global open ocean data registry, a shared vault where sonar and satellite archives can't be locked behind political walls. Others warn that full transparency might expose strategic technologies and make the next search impossible. The debate mirrors the plane itself: buried versus revealed, protected versus found. The ridges of calcium glow like a fingerprint. Inside that shell lies 11 years of ocean memory, temperature, drift, silence. a living archive that outlasted human attention. If the ocean can remember this much, maybe forgetting is a choice. All that remains now is interpretation. Was MH370's disappearance the result of human intent, mechanical failure, or something stranger? A chain of coincidences amplified by time and secrecy? Each answer rewrites the same tragedy in a different language. But beneath the data and politics, one truth holds. 239 people boarded a plane that never came home. Every new fragment we find is not just evidence. It's a reminder that understanding is a form of return. Somewhere below these coordinates, metal still rusts, signals still echo, and the last unanswered question still drifts. If we can finally locate the wreck, can we ever locate the moment the world stopped listening?